there.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. It's 11:59 and it's just the two of us.
Exactly, it's a chance to say hi.
I know. So how are you? So you are here, right? In Connecticut or
Yes, yeah, I moved to Manchester. I guess you know it because you're in the area, right?
yes, yes, I'm in Middletown, so close
Okay,
by. Yeah, how do you like
yes.
Manchester?
It's nice, a little bit quiet compared to New York, but it's like,
Really?
it's a surprise, right?
Yeah, I don't know what made you come here, but we're so happy to have you there, yeah?
No, it's like at the beginning, I was like, yeah, of course, this is life. And after a while, it's like, maybe it's a little bit quiet. Let's start driving around. So now, yeah, just like driving for 1 hour is nothing. I can do it. It's
You're
fine.
used to, that's right. And it's kind of nearby. We should get together at some point. Right now that is getting safer, so
Definitely. Yeah, we'll bug you then.
yeah, absolutely. Please do. Okay.
Yeah, and
Since all
welcome to our seminar. Apparently, you liked it.
yeah.
Cool. Hey, Amir. Hey, everyone.
Hi.
Let me try sharing. Okay, so you see my slides, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, everybody.
Hey.
You can share your screen, obviously. And I can echo really badly. Let's wait like 1 or 2 more minutes and then
Sure.
you can start, Kara.
Okay.
Okay. Just as a reminder of the schedule, Minwoo will be talking next week and then Julie. So if somebody wants to do something like July 29th, which is like a long time from now, that's an open date. So if you want to sign up for something, let me, Amir, or Dada know. And I guess with that, we should go ahead and let Dada get started.
Okay, sure. Hey everyone, thank you for being here today. In this talk, I will introduce our new multi-party computation model, Gauge MPC. This is a joint work with my collaborators from Algorand Foundation, Columbia, UPenn, and Tel Aviv University. Please feel free to stop me anytime to ask questions. And if I am going fast or speaking fast, also, please feel free to tell me slow down a little bit. So Gauge MPC is about combining two paradigms together. The first one is non-interactive MPC, and the other is conducting MPC over a blockchain. I will introduce these two paradigms briefly, pointing out kind of the missing pieces, and then I will talk about Gauge MPC and how it handles these challenges. While doing so, I'm going to look at a simple example, which is auctions. So starting with non-interactive multi-party computation, its conventional setup is composed of a special party, which is an evaluator that has to be available during the whole period of the computation. And there are there's a set of parties, P0 until or to Pn, who wants to evaluate a function over their private inputs. In IMPC, what happens is the following. Each of these parties will submit their input, so they will send only one message to the evaluator. They will not communicate with each other. After all of them send their messages, where each of these messages is computed or generated based on their private inputs, the evaluator will carry out the computation and announce the output. So in our example, there could be a seller, P0, who has a reserve price for the auction. We have in buyers who will submit their bids, and then the auctioneer or the evaluator will announce the winner. Existing works on NIMPC showed that a trusted setup is needed to enable this setting. In particular, there should be a trusted party with some private input who will generate correlated randomness and distribute this correlated randomness among the players beforehand. So it is more like a pre-processing phase. And then after that, each of these parties will generate its message based on its private input and this correlated randomness, and the computation will continue. In this setup or in IMPC protocols in general, we have that the leakage of the residual function is inherent, meaning that if we have the evaluator colluding with one of these parties, let's say P0 or even more than one, but I'm just going to look at the simplest case, the evaluator will be able to recompute the function over and over again over arbitrary values of P0, the colluding party, and which is her input, with fixed input values of the rest of the parties, which are the honest parties. And this will allow leakage of additional information about even kind of the private inputs of the other parties. Not even the evaluator can do that based on the protocol setup and whether the messages are sent in the clear and so on. The last participant in the computation, for example, Pn, will be able to compute also the residual function over arbitrary values of her input over the inputs coming from other parties. In our example, in auctions, for example, this will allow the last party to figure out the highest previous bid and act accordingly by putting, for example, a higher bid and win the whole auction. The existing works until now, the improvement they achieved is to have protocols or design protocols that are robust to collusion, which means that security is preserved given or according to the notion of saying that nothing is leaked beyond the residual function because it's inherent. And as I just mentioned to you, these protocols require a trusted setup. For the second paradigm, and in parallel to these advancements, there is progress on combining MPC with the blockchains. There are several generations. We refer to them as kind of like the first generation, where a blockchain is utilized to implement a broadcast channel, where we know that in MPC protocols, usually we need a broadcast channel to announce or to broadcast messages to other parties. The second generation incorporated payments in MPC or in the MPC protocol itself. And mainly this came to address the impossibility of fairness in MPC protocols. And in a nutshell, what happens or how it was used is the following. All parties will deposit money in advance, call it security or a security deposit. And then any party who quits the computation before letting the others or the rest of the participants know the output, then it will lose her penalty deposit to others. So it is more like the rest of the parties will be compensated for not knowing the output with some monetary incentives from that security deposit. The third generation, which is our work, takes this further by incorporating smart contracts and the miners as active participants in the MPC protocol itself. At a high level, Gauge MPC is composed of a set of parties. We have P0 and the rest of the parties P1 to Pn. P0 will start by setting up the computation where it generates a message M0 and it creates a smart contract on the blockchain that it will be used to record that message and to create a collateral. Any questions?
Okay. Sorry. So what, I guess, is your goal to achieve non-interactive MPC, or is your goal, what's the goal? Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was supposed to mention that before. Totally. So our goal of Gauge MPC is to avoid the leakage of the residual function. So we have an IMPC that improves on existing systems or existing protocols by avoiding the leakage of the residual function. Also, we guarantee output delivery, but this is under the assumption that we have financially incentivized parties, and we avoid having any trusted setup. So yeah, I forgot to mention that, sorry.
Okay, so just to make sure though, is your goal to be non-interactive in the presence of a blockchain functionality, or not even require, right? Like, because blockchains are inherently interactive.
That's a great question, which is related more like to how we define an interactive, right? So the interactivity that we're looking at here is between the players incorporated in the computation rather than in the whole system. So yeah, the miners in the blockchain will interact with each other, all of this, but kind of like it is not related to the MPC protocol itself, right?
Yep. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for these questions. So yeah, to enable all of these kind of like, let's say, solutions, we design Gauge MPC. And as I said, we incorporate a blockchain functionality to kind of like implement also, yeah, a broadcast channel to have monetary incentives to encourage the parties to act in an honest way. But more importantly, we incorporate the a smart contract and the miners as active participants. So P0 will set up the computation over the blockchain by creating a smart contract. It will record her initial message, in addition to creating a collateral, which is more like a penalty or security deposit for P0. The rest of the parties who wants to participate in the computation will take M0. Each one of them will compute a specific message based on M0 and their private inputs, and record these messages on the blockchain using the same smart contract. Once all these messages are registered or published on the blockchain, there are two possibilities. Either P0 is honest and will come back to publish let's say a second message in 0 prime, which is needed to finalize the computation. Once this message is recorded, the smart contract can automatically perform the computation and announce the output, and everyone will get to see it because it is published publicly on the blockchain. If P0 comes back and do that, which we call the nominal path of the computation, it will be able to recover her collateral. However, if P0 is malicious, or maybe just disappeared from the system and didn't come back within a pre-specified timeout period, then other parties, which we call bounty hunters in our protocol, will do the work or the computation needed to generate this message, and as a reward, they will be able to recover, or sorry, to get the collateral of P0. So this is the reward for doing the computation. I wanted to say that, I want to mention one thing, that the nominal path, it is very easy for P0 to do it because it is the one who set up the computation. And you can tell that this is a little bit different from the traditional setup of NIMPC. Because in NIMPC, P0 doesn't come back. We'll just post one message and go away. The bounty hunter path, it is harder for them to figure out in 0 prime. And for this, they will get, or they have to expend computation and get the reward. And this path is similar to the traditional NIMPC setup. Each party will just post one message, go away, and then later on, they will get the output by just like watching the blockchain and the progress of the computation there. All of this works under the assumption that we have financially motivated or incentivized bounty hunters or parties in the system who are willing to do the computation. Also, as long as we have these parties, output delivery is guaranteed, because it is either P0 will come back and allow finalizing the computation, or any bounty hunter will do that. And so fairness is guaranteed in our model. Also, our protocol works under the assumption that an honest party can put a collateral of value much higher than what an adversary can expend on computation. This is a requirement because this is what makes the leakage of the residual function, or to circumvent the leakage of the residual function, as we will see shortly. This is what I just mentioned a minute ago. So the utility of Gauge MPC is eliminating the leakage of the residual function.
I have seen the
sure.
chart.
Oh, I can't see the chat here. Okay, let me figure out how to see the chat while I'm presenting. Oh, yeah. Okay, so this is not a fork. It's just like, if you let me go back to that slide. So I have this OR because it is either this path or the other path. So it is not like both paths will be existing in the system, because there is a timeout for P0. If she doesn't come back to publish the final message, then the second path will be the effective one. So it is not like both of them will be at the same time. Yeah. Does that answer your question? Okay, please, if you have further questions, just let me know. Thank you. And the second point is that we don't require untrusted setup because the whole computation is being set up by P0, the first party in the group. And we don't need a dedicated online evaluator, because finalizing the computation will be done automatically by the miners who are executing the smart contract on the blockchain. And on eliminating the leakage of the residual function, this is done by making the cost of evaluating the function f over a different set of inputs expensive, which is very similar to the cost or the computation cost that the bounty hunters will expend in order to evaluate F over just like one set of inputs. And this security guarantee, which is kind of like avoiding the leakage of the residual function, is guaranteed in the short term only. Because you can imagine that a wealthy patient adversary will be like, I don't care about this cost. I will just like continue working and put all kind of like the computation needed to evaluate F over different sets of inputs. So this adversary will be able to leak the residual function and even leak more information about the private inputs themselves. For this reason, this model is suitable for computations of an ephemeral nature, meaning that kind of like applications that there is no harm of revealing additional information about maybe, I don't know, the private inputs or any internal state after a point of time. You can think of auctions as one of them, because once the auction output is announced, there is no kind of like harm of leaking, okay, the exact bids of the other parties, because we're done now. So care is needed in kind of like when to apply this model, because it doesn't suit long-term security that usually MPC is looking for.
So is it?
Yes.
Is it fair to think of this as kind of like a time lock encryption, or can you? Maybe I'm jumping ahead.
Yes. No, this
okay.
is a great, yeah. Because yes, time capsules or kind of like timed commitments is the basic building block in the construction. So yeah, you're right.
Okay. All right. Never mind. Ignore me.
No, thank you so much. Okay. So at a high level, exactly for this, I smiled. This is kind of like our construction for or of a gauge MPC scheme. We are introducing several primitives and combine them together in order to produce the final protocol. I will look at them at a high level, and please feel free to ask any questions. And for the full technical details, you can find that in our paper. So as just like Ben mentioned, we start with time capsules, or sometimes they call them timed commitments, which is basically commit to a value that can be opened after expending a pre-specified amount of computation. The traditional time capsule notion found in the literature, it is more about time, which is a kind of like you'll be able to open the commitment after a specific period of time. So usually it is more about sequential work, but in our construction, we don't care about whether it is sequential or parallel, because all what we care about is the amount of computation needed to open the time capsule. For example, you can think of kind of publishing the hash of a seed S, and then anyone can sit down and brute force the image domain the pre-image domain of that hash until they find the exact value S. And as you can tell as well, the longer the seed, the harder is opening the commitment. And this is how we rely on kind of like calibrating the gauge MPC protocol based on the application that you have. So you can make opening the capsules harder, and which means that the cost is much higher, which also means that the collateral that need to be locked on the blockchain is also higher, because it has to be proportional to the hardness of opening the time capsules. And also, as you can imagine, kind of like the final message that is needed to finalize the protocol will be locked in a time capsule that P0 knows it's opening and can open it just like easily, but the rest of the kind of like the system and as we call them bounty hunters have to force open these time capsules and then announce these messages that will enable finalizing the computation. Announcing the opening as it is doesn't work in our setup. So for example, just like tying that to S, if I announce the seed immediately in the clear, then other malicious bounty hunters may steal it and claim it as theirs, and then claim the collateral instead of the honest bounty hunter who did the work. In order to avoid that, we combine time capsules with zero knowledge proofs to allow any bounty hunter to prove that they did the work and they opened the time capsule in zero knowledge without giving away the opening itself. Also, what we do is that we split the committed message from the opening, so we can announce the message and then prove in zero knowledge that we did the work and found the opening, and this will allow kind of like using that message in the computation. We call this primitive POTC or proof of time capsules. Then remember that we said we want to reward the bounty hunters for their work. And at the same time, we want to encourage P0 to come back and open these time capsules. In order to do so, we utilize a smart contract to provide this monetary incentive, which is a way to create the collateral. Also, we require kind of like bundling many POTCs together. And not all of these capsules need to be opened for the computation, only specific time capsules that are selected based on the private inputs of the parties. In order to do all of that, we devise what we call gauge time capsules or GATC, which is basically creating a smart contract that will allow creating a collateral, will allow to publish many POTCs together as one GATC, will allow to compute the index J, which will indicate which POTC we need to open, which again is based on the private inputs of the party. And it will allow verifying the zero knowledge proof that, okay, the work has been done, this POTC has been opened correctly, and the exact one that we want. And then either give this collateral back to P0 if P0 is the opener, or to the bounty hunters. Let me see.
Sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So is the same collateral is locked in every time capsule? Or
so all these time capsules kind of like include what you need for all inputs coming from all parties. So you can think of it, it is the collateral for the whole computation.
okay, so maybe then I'm...
So the POTC on its own doesn't have a collateral. So it's just like if you stopped at the POTC in the construction, it is just like time capsules with zero knowledge proofs. There is no notion of collateral.
Oh, okay. Okay, good. So this is just linking that to collateral through the blockchain.
Exactly.
Or the smart contract.
Yes, and instead of having single POTC that is published and you need to open, there'll be a bundle of them and you will not open all of them, only the designated ones that correspond to the private input.
Okay. And okay. Sorry, just last, so you actually, are you setting different difficulty for the ones that you don't want opened, or they're all the same difficulty and a bounty hunter could choose to open one that doesn't have anything to do with the inputs?
Exactly. So all of them are at the same difficulty because once you set up the computation, you don't know what private inputs the rest of the parties will submit, right? So it could be you will open the first POTC or the second or the third. So all of them are at the same level of difficulty. If a bounty hunter, he was like, I don't want to open the kind of like the target POTC, he will not be rewarded for the work. So it will be just like, he's now just acting as like the adversary who's opening any POTC he wants. So for this kind of like this smart contract also must verify if this is the kind of like target POTC and if the output is correct or kind of the opening is correct. Okay, let me see the chat. Pre-shared randomness is a little bit not secure. If you are still on the talk, please can you say more about this? The pre-shared randomness is a little bit not secure. I'm not sure what you mean, but the only thing that I can think of is because you have a trusted setup, if you have this trusted setup designated as one party, then yeah, maybe compromising that party will compromise the whole computation. But other than that, I don't think there is any security problem with this kind of like approach. Randomness should be kept unpredictable. Okay, so it is correlated randomness in the sense that it is tied to the same computation. It is not like you can predict any of these, let's say, labels. So if you are familiar with garbled circuits, there are labels for the input. We call them correlated randomness because just like they are tied to the same computation, but it is not like they are more predictable, unless you have something specific in mind. So yeah, please just let me know. Yes, Yao based, it is, here I'm talking about garbled circuits, yeah. Okay, I will answer the rest of the questions just like in a minute after I finish kind of the slide about label-driven MPC and see if I can answer the rest of your questions. Okay, so this is Gatsy, and literally what's happening here is just like there is kind of like specific messages or values that correspond to the inputs of all parties that we need to reveal in order to allow performing the multi-party computation, just like that we want to execute. So Gatsy is all about just like the input side, but still we are missing a piece, which is the protocol itself that will allow performing the computation. For this part, we develop what we call label-driven MPC. It is Yao-based, so it is based on garbled circuits, and the novelty here is that it is a generalization of garbled circuits that is robust to the exposure of additional labels. What does that mean? Just like a quick reminder, and it is high level, for Yao garbled circuits, what we have, and here we are looking at the two-party setting, we have two parties, the garbler, P0, and the evaluator, P1. P0 will garble the circuit, which is denoted as C here. And this garbling is basically just an encryption of the truth table of kind of like the functionality represented by this circuit. And of course, you go over each gate within the circuit and so on. And it will generate labels for the input wires. And these labels are just random strings. Each wire will get two labels, one to represent the bit 0 and the other to represent the bit 1. Then P0 will send his labels and the garbled circuit to the evaluator P1. They will engage in an oblivious transfer protocol to allow P1 to retrieve the labels that correspond to her input. Once that finished, then the evaluator P1 will use the labels to evaluate the garbled circuit and get the output. And the output will be public, and just like it is supposed that P1 will tell P0 about the output. It is known that garbled circuits, the security guarantee of garbled circuits is that nothing will be revealed about the private inputs, and here I'm just talking about privacy, beyond what is deduced from the output of the circuit. It is known that if even one additional label is exposed, then this privacy guarantee cannot be achieved. Meaning that if an adversary manages to get both labels, the 0 and the 1, for any input wire, then it can re-evaluate the garbled circuit over kind of different sets or multiple sets of inputs, and this will allow her to maybe get some information about the private inputs of the rest of the parties. To prevent that, or to achieve what we call robustness, so a garbled circuit will continue to be secure as long as the number of exposed additional labels is up to K, we combine error correcting codes with Yao. This is done by adding an additional layer of indirection to the computation, which is circuit C prime here. Instead of having only, so for example, here in the two-party setting, only 2 labels as input to the circuit, we will have 2 plus K labels. The circuit C prime will do the following. If the inputs to this circuit, which is the 2 plus k labels, form a valid code word, then it will spit out the actual labels needed for the circuit C. So kind of like now, evaluation or evaluating a circuit is composed of two phases, eval 1, eval 2. The first one will output the labels needed for the computation, and the second phase will just continue as normal. What does that mean? It means that for an adversary to evaluate the whole circuit on a different set of inputs, he has to come up with labels for a valid code word. And when we are using a code or a linear code with distance k plus 1, let's say, or at least k plus 1, then as long as, this adversary needs an additional k plus 1 labels to get a valid code word or another valid code word, which also means that if the adversary manages only to get additional k labels, this will not allow him to reveal anything. And for this, we say that we achieve k robustness to label exposure in garbled circuits. So this is label-driven MPC. We now, as you can imagine, combine label-driven MPC with GATC. Simply, we take a label-driven MPC protocol, generate all the labels needed for the computation. Instead of giving these labels in the clear, we package them in time capsules in what we call GATC. And the bounty hunters now, in order to finalize or allow the computation to be executed, and again, it is the bounty hunters or P0, they have to work on opening the desired labels that correspond to the party's inputs. Once they are open, then the label-driven MPC will be able to execute. So this is Gauge MPC at a high level. In our paper, we present several transformations based on the security level of these transformations. The traditional YAW, where only P0 has a private input and the rest of the parties have public inputs, gives us what we call public inputs zero robust security, because as I said, security cannot be guaranteed even if one additional label is exposed. By combining that with error correcting codes, as I just explained, we get what we call public inputs 1 minus epsilon gamma prime robust security, which gamma prime here is just like the K from before. Also, another transformation takes the basic scheme by using any two-round, two-party computation protocol to get private inputs. So not only P0 will have private input, but all the parties. Combining these two constructions together allow us to come up with the highest security level we can achieve, which is working on private inputs for all parties and have robustness against label exposure in garbled circuits. What not though? Yeah.
Sorry, I lost this. How are you executing the OTs in a non-interactive setting?
Okay, so it is not about OTs here. Okay, no, it is OT, but kind of just like the way it is done. So in the paper, we look at it as an abstract level. You have a two-party, two-round protocol, you produce messages and so on. The OT, we did it, but it is not part of the paper because we were kind of like about the construction itself. And yeah, there is a way to do it because P0 can publish the messages in a way that will allow P1 to kind of execute the rest of the, how to say it, the kind of just like the OT protocol and get her labels. Yeah, just like I was supposed to look at it, but that was a year ago, but there is a way to do it. And kind of like at a theoretical level, it's just come up or get any two-round, two-party computation protocol, and you can plug it in the label-driven MPC that we have. It is not a satisfying answer. I just like I will follow up with you on this because even
but I mean the high level is just right, like you you make the first message resilient to partial exposure by changing the circuit.
Yes.
Is the high level. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And even kind of this part, you will generate all the labels. This so kind of P0 will generate all the labels and do kind of the rest of the protocol. But yeah, there is a transformation for OT to allow that, and it was a bit complicated. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, there is a way to do it.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, so we combined these to get kind of like the Gauge MPC with the high security level, and all of this is just for the two-party setting. So there is a way to extend it to the multi-party setting, but in that way, or at that level, you need a two-round MPC protocol. And another way is to allow all the parties to generate labels, not only P0 to generate the label in order to get that. And one more thing that I have to mention is that all the constructions for label-driven MPC in the paper are for the semi-honest adversary model. So it is not for the malicious one. Yeah, because we know to address the malicious one, we need some sort of, I'm not going to say interactivity, but cut and paste needed and so on. But yeah, we only deal with the semi-honest adversary model. So to conclude, we introduce a new multi-party computation model called Gauge MPC to avoid leaking the residual function in the short term, and it doesn't require a trusted setup. This represents kind of the third generation of combining MPC with blockchains. Along the way, we developed several new primitives that we believe are interesting and could be of independent interest to be used in applications beyond just constructing a Gauge MPC. We have a proof of concept implementation in Ethereum-like blockchain, but it is for a simple auction functionality, and the whole goal was just to provide a library for PODCs and utilize the pre-compiles in Ethereum to achieve that. Okay, thank you so much, and happy to take any questions. I know that the chat, there are many questions, so I will.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll say this. I still can't figure out if this is a real person asking questions or a troll, or maybe both. Some of their questions are good, and some of them just sound like nonsense. So I don't know.
Okay, but I think he spoke at the beginning, or she. I don't remember. Yeah.
Well, so yeah. I just one more question so really the only thing the blockchain is doing is forcing people to actually put something meaningful in their time commitment or their time lock puzzle, right? Like that's the only, like, if you had some other way to enforce that they're putting their real value in there, you wouldn't need the blockchain, right?
So now kind of you are talking more about being an honest player in setting up the commitments, right? Which is you can enforce using, I don't know, zero knowledge proofs or something. So it is not really that the blockchain is incentivizing that. Although I see your point, because if P0 cannot open these commitments correctly at the end, she will lose the collateral. So yes and no, but it is more about kind of incentivizing, finalizing the computation, and making it expensive for the adversary to re-evaluate the computation over several sets of inputs. So this is kind of the main goal, rather than, hey, act in an honest way. So just kind of to put a barrier for the adversary from evaluating the residual function.
Other questions from the audience? I've actually asked most of mine, so I can be quiet.
No, it's expected because you work on MPC as well, so.
So I guess right, you mentioned this kind of like transient nature of the computation. And
Right.
this is kind of a different model for MPC than we're used to. Can you think
Yes.
of other settings where, like other models you could provide meaningful results if everybody's okay with their inputs being opened, like in a near term?
You mean kind of like other applications or something like that?
Well,
Or
like other technical tools you could use if everybody's inputs are going to be exposed after some period of time.
so kind of like think about kind of a model where the parties can come back and open their commitments, right? So, which is kind of like the way that people usually look at making private auctions. So I'm going to submit my bid as a hash, and then I'm going to come back and just like provide the pre-image, right? Uh, but this is kind of like, it is interactive. This is the first thing. And there is no incentives for these parties to come back and open. And there is also the same problem. If I am the last party and I saw all the openings before me, I'm just going to quit and don't finalize the computation. So at least this is kind of like the other model that I can think of where if it is okay to open the inputs, then this can be done, because pretty much any computation you can do it this way by committing to your input. After a while, just like open it and then let the computation be done on the inputs in the clear, right? So yeah, but kind of like this is a little bit different from Gauge MPC, because Gauge MPC, what it tells you is that if there is no kind of like wealthy patient adversary who will do all this kind of like additional computation, then your input will continue to be private. So kind of like it's a little bit stronger from this naive model, if that makes sense.
Rada?
Yes.
So I'm just wondering, so would you consider like, could you compare to an alternative where each party puts a collateral and then they have to open their secret private input after the computation is over, and then and if you don't open, then you lose your collateral. So that would be like a kind of a naive way of addressing a similar problem. I wonder, how would you differentiate?
But just let me make sure that I understand the question, which is similar to kind of like the model that I just talked about, right? The parties just like,
right.
Yeah, but there is this kind of motivation to come back and open, right? So I think kind of like the question here is, if you are opening your input in the clear, then the whole privacy is gone the minute you want to execute the computation, right? Our model will give you privacy as long as there is no one else will do the additional computation to expose the labels. Okay, the kind of more challenging model to guarantee also privacy, which is to allow all these parties to generate the labels for the garbled circuit, not only one, which is P0. And actually, if you think about it, in our model, if P0 is compromised, the whole security is gone, because P0 knows all the labels. So by having all parties participate in generating the labels, that will provide a greater level of security. We thought about it a little bit. We found it a little bit challenging, or more challenging, and we stopped there. So I'm not going to lie. So this is kind of like the better alternative route than just like commit and come back to open, because privacy will be totally gone.
Right. But so I wonder if you kind of formalize this kind of difference, right? Because it sounds like, yeah, I understand the difference, but I'm not sure that you have that I see, like a clear definition of this difference, right? And because the party wouldn't know actually if privacy would be exposed or not. It's just like, oh, in the typical case, it will not be exposed, right?
Yes. Yeah, totally. Yes. Yeah, and for this, we are saying it is in the short term, you have to account for the worst case scenario, that this strong adversaries out there and will expose everything totally. But like again, the guarantee that we give, at least these inputs will be exposed after the computation is finished and the result is announced to everyone. For this, we say, for example, for auctions, it makes sense because it is settled. Everyone get further chances in that auction. Okay, knowing additional information about the input, it doesn't really matter after that time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Okay, great. Then let's at least virtually thank Gada with clapping or however it works.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for being here today.
Yeah. And Minwoo, I'll write you an email to make sure we're still on for next week. All right. Thanks very much, everyone. Bye.
Bye.